Hi there, I'm Dave. I'm coming to you from London about a week ago. I sadly couldn't be with you today, but hopefully my pixelated version is almost as good as the real thing. So that's my name down there, Dave Burse. It's a strange Norwegian name, difficult to spell, but makes me very easy to find on Google. For those of you who've got no idea who I am, which I take it is probably just about everyone, let me do a quick introduction. So hi, I am Dave. I was editor-at-large of The Drum magazine. I just want to get you to understand that I understand journalism. I was the head of innovation for the Independent newspaper and the Evening Standard. And I'm a writer, so I've written a number of books. This was one of my books, How to Get to Great Ideas, which is also available in Serbian. Right there. Get it in a bookshop from Finessa. These days, I spend a lot of my time teaching. I've got 5 AI courses currently on LinkedIn Learning. I have been told that I am LinkedIn Learning's top AI instructor, and I've got the highest rated course. So go along, have a look there. I've got another course, a 6th course coming out in the next month or so. So I'm looking forward to that one being released. There's a whole bunch of them there. Just go, see what takes your fancy, see what you like, take one of these courses. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is I'm a writer, and I've also embraced AI. And I think that this area in the middle where writing and AI comes together has got huge potential. I don't see it as a threat. I see it as a massive opportunity. And I want to explain that to you today. But before we get started on that, let's just play a quick game. We're going to play Was That a Bot? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show you some pictures, and I want you to guess in your head if it was created by a human or it was created by AI. So this image here, what do you think? Was this created by a human or was it created by AI? Make your decision now. Human! There we go. Did you get that right? What about this one here? Was this created by a human or was it created by AI? Make your decision. AI! What about this one here? Was this created by a human or was it created by AI? AI again! What about this one here? Was this created by a human or was this image created by AI? AI! One more time. What about this? Was this image created by AI or was it created by a human? Am I playing tricks on you? Am I just going to keep them all at AI? Make your decision now. Human! What about this one here? Was this created by AI or was it created by a human? It was in fact created by a human, and the final image here, was this created by AI or was it created by a human? It was in fact created by AI. Well done, congratulations. Whatever your score is, maybe find me on the internet, tweet the score, tell me on LinkedIn what you got as a score. There we go, I just wanted to show you how far AI has come. Only a few months ago, it seemed that if you asked AI to create an image that had hands in it, you would have far too many fingers or far too few fingers, and things were a little bit squishy and weird. But now we're getting stuff that looks photorealistic. Now that's from text to image. Text to text has gone through an incredible transformation as well. So text to text is the kind of stuff that I'm going to be talking about today, really using tools like ChatGPT or Claude by Anthropic. So, I want to talk about why AI is so important. Well, some of the stuff that I talk about in my books, I look at the history of humans, I look at evolutionary psychology, and, you know, there's been a couple of ways that humans have added value through the years, since the creative explosion of humanity 30 to 40,000 years ago. You know, just thinking and there's doing. I mean, there's a lot of people that prefer to go for slacking, and AI can help you with that, but we're not going to be covering that today. Now, up until now, it has been doing that's been the main thing that humans have focused on. So all of the inventions we've had, from the invention of the wheel, the doing, it's been letting us do less. We achieve more by doing less physically. And some of these doing things have been mental things. So like an abacus helps us do maths, but it's doing a process. This is the first time in history that we've had an industrial scale solution to thinking. And that's why this is important, because there have been pluses and negatives to the inventions that we have done to help us with doing. So for example, the last 3 generations or so, we've sat down for a living. And now we've got heart disease, we've got obesity, we've got back pain, we've got all sorts of problems that come from that. And I'm very balanced in my view with AI. I don't see it all as being 100% positive. I want to understand what the risks are so that we can try and deal with them. So we don't know what's going to happen if people outsource too much of their thinking to AI. Will it have a harmful effect on their brains? I think almost certainly. So we have to make sure that we're keeping humans engaged when we're doing this. But that's why this is important, because this is the time that we need to take action and make decisions and see what we can do to make this better. So from that, let's actually talk about the problem with AI. So here are some quotes to do with AI and the world of journalism. I'm concerned that AI will sacrifice ethics for efficiency in reporting. Okay, that's a very valid thing to say. It's unsettling to think that AI might erode the trust readers have in us. Again, that's very valid. AI in journalism feels like a departure from the art of human expression. I can understand that. All of these quotes are things that I've kind of heard people saying in the world of publishing, but also all of these quotes were written by AI. I asked AI to imagine that it was a journalist who felt threatened by AI. And it came up with some quotes for me, and these were some of the quotes. But they're absolutely what people seem to be saying. So let's actually tackle some of these concerns right now. So here's a problem that some people have. They say that deepfakes and fake news erode trust. Now, this is absolutely true. They do. They absolutely do. But this isn't a new thing. This guy here is called Octavian. And Octavian started a fake news campaign against this guy over here who's called Mark Anthony. You've maybe heard of Mark Anthony because this is the story I'm going to tell you. You see, in 33 BC, Octavian started a fake news campaign against Mark Anthony. Mark Anthony was, you might remember, he was with Cleopatra. And he had children with Cleopatra, and he was down spending a lot of his time in Egypt. Mark Antony took this as an opportunity to try and get a little bit more power in Rome. So he set out this incredible fake news campaign where he read out what he said was Mark Antony's will. And the will had some inflammatory stuff in there. The likelihood is that this will was completely fabricated. There's debate about that, but that is the general consensus that this will probably wasn't true. There's some inflammatory stuff in it, and he managed to get Mark Antony struck off by the Senate so that he no longer had his position because he was heading up the armies. So Rome then made war with Cleopatra because of what this guy had done by reading out this probably fake will. And they fought the Egyptian army, and they won. So Mark Antony and Cleopatra took their own lives. Serious stuff. Terrible stuff. This was a fake news campaign. This guy here, when he was struck off, this guy sent messengers out to the Roman Empire to say that this guy was horrible. All fake news. But there we go. It's nothing new. 33 BC, that was exactly what happened. And how about this different kind of fake news? This was done by the New York Sun in 1835. They claimed that one of the leading astronomers had discovered that there was a civilization on the moon. Yes, indeed, that's what they talked about. A civilization on the moon. And this is one of the creatures that apparently lived in the moon. This is a Batman. That's what they called him. This was a Batman who lived on the moon, and apparently unicorns lived up there and all sorts of other things. Now, this was all just to get more people subscribing and buying the New York Sun. And it worked. And it was fake news that was done to increase sales. So what I'm saying is that this is nothing new. The problem is not AI. The problem here is humans. That is our issue. And we need to be looking at how we can deal with this issue, because humans obviously can't be trusted. And some of the problem comes from within the industry. There are journalists who are spinning out fake news as part of the publication, as part of the organization that they're working for. And we see that internationally, that there's fake news being spun out there. But it's also happening outside the industry. And this is something that the industry needs to deal with. They need to be looking at how we can start to get trust back again in the articles that we produce, because that's going to put value back on the work that we do. So that's an important thing, right? Here's another thing. Journalists are being replaced by AI. That's what a lot of people are saying. But I think this is a very twisted thing to say, because it's not the whole truth. Here we go. This is from what we got here, 2008 to 2020. This is the number of journalists working in, the dark line there is traditional newspapers. The yellow line there is digital publishing. So you can see that traditional newspapers have lost a lot of journalists, but some of those journalists have been moving over to digital. But on the whole, there are fewer journalists than there were 20 years ago. That's certainly something that we've been seeing. So AI is just part of that trend. You cannot blame AI for this. This is a trend that is already happening, where we're finding it harder. Our organizations are finding it harder to be able to employ journalists in the newsroom. It's just that the financial model is changing, because people are moving their habits of consuming media elsewhere. So the lesson for this really is for individuals is that, rejecting AI as an individual is only going to impact your career as you go on. AI is going to become a necessity very, very quickly in this industry. So rather than seeing AI as the enemy that's stealing jobs, what we need to be looking at is how can we use AI to make us better at what we do. That's the magic of AI. It can make you better at what you do. It's not about removing tasks. It's not about replacing humans. Actually, that's a really lame way of using AI. That's short-termism that might help financially. Long-term, it's going to be absolutely crippling. So it's really important for organizations to see AI as a way of augmenting their staff to help them achieve more. And it can be incredible for journalists. So I believe that some content probably shouldn't be done by humans. This is maybe quite an inflammatory thing to say, and it's going to upset a few people, but I want you to bear with me as I explain this, because I don't believe that all content is of equal value. Let me show you a graph to try and explain what I'm talking about here. So there we go. We've got our axes here. Now, down here, we've got task. These are all the different tasks that a journalist can do within a newsroom. And up here, we've got cognitive load. This is how much effort it is, how much thinking they have to do. So there's a lot of stuff that is low cognitive load tasks. And then there's a few things that are high cognitive load tasks. What do I mean by that? Well, low cognitive load tasks. Reporting on sports scores or on the state of the stock market at the end of the day. That doesn't require much thinking. Let's be honest. It's a regular thing that happens, and AI could do that really, really well right now. And it's been able to do that pretty well for a few years now. Up here, investigative reporting of a political scandal, maybe trying to look at how money's being laundered out of a country. That takes a lot of effort, a lot of thinking, a lot of work. How do I talk about this? What's the take that I have on this? Who do I need to interview? All of this stuff. It's a lot of effort. Now we've got this line here that this is the potential for AI. So low cognitive load tasks have got high potential for AI. AI can really get involved in those. And they're not quite as useful when you've got high cognitive load tasks, but they still are of some use. So I believe that what's going to happen is that we are going to split the work that is done. And some of this work, the low cognitive load tasks, will be outsourced to AI, because AI is actually really good at this stuff. If it doesn't require too much thinking, give it to a thinking machine. Over here, augmenting with AI. This is what we can do when we are doing something that's a higher cognitive load task. We can use AI not to outsource our work to, but to help us do better work, to help us achieve results that we would not previously achieve. You see, low cognitive load tasks should be outsourced. I don't believe that admin should be a human task, and a lot of these content creation tasks are pretty administrative. I believe that that is the stuff that should be given to AI so that humans can be freed up to do more valuable work. Right, here's another concern. AI just makes stuff up. And yes, this is true. AI does, in fact, just make stuff up if you write bad prompts. Bad prompts mean that the AI has to make more assumptions. And when it makes assumptions, that's when it starts making things up because it's not what we were looking for. So if the prompts that you write are something like this, write an article about paying off debt. If that is what your prompt looks like, you are going to get probably quite a lot of hallucinations, a lot of inaccuracies, but you're probably going to get pretty low quality response as well. This is what, at a bare minimum, I think a prompt should look like. Yes, a paragraph. And this here is actually one of my shorter kind of prompts. And let me read it out to you because I want you to understand the kind of thing you need to put in a prompt. Ignore everything in the chat before this prompt. You are a highly experienced journalist with 20 years experience writing engaging articles. I want you to write me a 600-word blog post about curly brackets topic. That's a variable. I'm going to define that variable at the end. Write in the style of the New York Times. Break up the copy with subheads. Avoid filler words and stop words. Write in a style that ChatGPT would not normally deliver. Return your response as an article. And then we've got our variable, curly brackets topic, colon, how to pay off debt on a low income salary. Now, I would actually tend to give the AI a lot more information when I'm defining the variable at the bottom. I tend to even give it examples and all sorts of things, but I'm going to explain that to you in a minute because I want to show you, if you're working with AI, how to write better prompts. And we will come to that shortly. Just the general thing is that you can't give the AI less information than you would give a human to do the same task and expect a good result. Because these things, they need lots of information in the prompt. If you do not give it enough information to do the task properly, that's when it makes assumptions, that's when you get inaccuracies, that's when you get poor results. So the art of writing a prompt is the art of writing a brief. So you'd need to write good briefs for humans to get them to do something that you want. You also need to write good briefs for AI to get an AI to do what you want. Right, let's talk about augmenting writing with AI. I ran an experiment to see what it is that AI could do, what it was capable of when it came to writing. So I asked it to write a book, and it did. I wrote a book, or I got AI to write a book in the space of about 4 hours, so that actually it was online and published 4 hours after I started it. And I want to tell you the process I went through because it's quite important to understand the process of this kind of thing. First of all, I asked the AI to come up with 12 titles, 12 alternative titles for a book about the harmful effects of social media. It did, and I chose the title that I liked the most. I then said, if there was a book of this title, what would be the chapters that I would be most likely to see inside it? And it gave me the titles of the chapters, and actually they were really, really good. I then said for each of those chapters, what would be the points that are most likely to be covered within this chapter, and it gave me a list of bullet points, maybe about 10 to 15 points per chapter. Then for each of those points, I said, write me 400 words on this, and it did. So I had to go through all of those bullet points, getting it to write 400 words. So this took a few hours going through that. I compiled all of that into a book, and I'll be honest with you, I've not read the book. But I took the text and I put it into another AI that was trained on my voice from one of my audiobooks. And being trained on my voice, it read out the whole book in my voice and gave me the MP3 of the book, the audiobook, which I also put up online. And I've listened to the audiobook and I learned a lot about this. I found that there's some things that AI is great at and some things that AI is terrible at. And the things that I like in a book, personal stories, statistics, interviews with experts, that's this kind of stuff that I really enjoy in a book. It can't do any of that. And none of that was in the book. So it was telling me the theory of stuff, giving me opinions, but there really wasn't these lovely stories, interviews, statistics to back it up. So I put together a little bit of a list when I was preparing this presentation of the kind of things that a journalist would do, all the way from identifying sources, submitting to the editor, incorporating feedback, a whole bunch of things there. And then from my experience working with AI, I went and I put them into 3 different categories. Either stuff that AI is great at, stuff that AI needs human help with, or stuff that really shouldn't be given to AI. So here we go. Green, right here, is stuff that AI is great at. Outlining story structure, writing the first draft, revising and refining. Yes, the human has to control this with prompts to say exactly what it wants, but wow, it does an amazing job with this kind of stuff. The stuff in yellow is the stuff that you need the human and the AI working together, and you can get some pretty good stuff if the human and the AI are working together. So at that point, you're using the AI to augment the human skills to make them better at what they do in these tasks. The stuff that's in red, like conduct interviews, that's stuff that AI can't do. It can give you some questions for interviews, but if you're asking it to write stuff, it's not going to put any interviews in there because it's not done them. That's a human job. So I thought that this was really interesting, that there's some tasks that the AI can do, some tasks that the AI can't do. But when it comes to all of this understanding, you then need to have an AI strategy. And this is something that I've been looking at, because what we would hope with any piece of technology that comes along, you've got every bit as much opportunity for good as there is opportunity for bad. You've got yin and yang, okay? Every piece of technology that's new has got as much potential for good as it has potential for harm. And what we hope is that if we get involved early on in trying to shape this technology and put guidelines for how we use it, then there's going to be more good than bad. Because that's not always what happens. If you think of what happened with the dark web, at the beginning, the dark web seemed to be something that was all about freedom of speech. It meant that you could get rid of censorship around the world. It meant that people could freely buy and sell things without governments getting involved. Well, is it a good place now? It had such lofty, fantastic ambitions. Is it good? No. Now, it's just a sewer of dirtbags. You do not go onto the dark web if you have good intentions. It is just where criminals hang out. So that's why I think it's really important, while we've got an even yin and yang of a technology, is for us to put our thinking in to go, how can we maximize the good and mitigate the bad? It's really important that we look at that right now. Because you see, statistics show that 59% of companies have an AI strategy, and I think that is nonsense. I do not believe that 59% of companies have an AI strategy. I think a lot of these companies, because I've spoken to a lot of them, their AI strategy is, let's try out AI. That is not a strategy. A strategy is when you've got a framework to help you make decisions. So I've gone around trying to create something like that. And it's something I've actually been speaking to a publication this week about seeing if we could create something like this, especially for the world of journalism, especially for publications and publishing. So I'm going to be launching this soon, the Sensible AI Manifesto. And I've got 7 points here, and I'm just going to skim them. Okay, so the first point's really, really important. As I said, we need to be using AI to augment skills, not to replace people. Use it to help us achieve more, not just do less. That's absolutely vital, and every organization that uses AI needs to see it that way. If you're only wanting to use it to be more efficient, then it will help you in the short term, it will damage you in the long term. Use data responsibly. This is really important, but we're not going to talk about that just now. We need to be ethical. We need to be ethical because there's no legal precedence here. We need to use our heart and our head, because there's no legal precedence. And if we do not use our common sense and our morality, we may become a legal precedent. And we're about to see a flurry of court cases over the next couple of years about AI. Now here, we need to support our employees. Our employees don't know this technology. And if we don't tell them what they can and can't do with it, they may do something that's wrong, unethical, or illegal because we haven't told them what they can and can't do with it. So we need to be really clear in letting them know what the guidelines are and in giving them training on how they can get the best out of it. If you try and ignore this, your employees will start using this technology without you. So you need to get involved and tell them what they can, can't do, and help them use it in the best possible way. If you want, give me a shout. I can probably help you with that. I think that you should assign AI leaders because somebody needs to have a butt that can be kicked if they do it wrong, but a back that can be patted if they do it right. So I think that that's very important when you're putting AI into your organization. This stuff is changing. In the last 2 weeks, ChatGPT has changed in a big way, and it's better than it was before. So you have to keep up with this stuff. You have to keep learning. And as somebody who's immersed in this, I sometimes struggle to keep up with it myself. And then this is important. We always need to add a human layer. We do not ever consider the output of AI to be the finished product. We need to put a sprinkling of human fairy dust on the top to make sure that the output's as good as it can possibly be. And that keeps humans totally relevant when they're doing this, when they're using AI as part of their tasks. So should we look at how to talk to AI? I'll take you through a couple of prompts. And I will bring up, on the side of the screen here, let's bring up ChatGPT. Okay, so the first prompt that I want to put in here is to help us understand different perspectives on a topic. Because when we understand the different audience perspectives, then it makes it easier for us to be able to write articles and make sure that we are understanding the points of view that are most important, that are going to resonate with our audience. So let me read out this prompt because I want you to understand what goes into the prompts. You are an expert on audience research with the ability to understand the underlying motivations and points of view of different groups of people. I want you to list at least 12 different audiences who have an interest in curly brackets topic, along with a summary of their perspectives and an understanding of their motivations. Write your response as a table with the columns audience, perspective, and motivation. Then give me a paragraph outlining the greatest tensions between these audiences, where their perspectives clash and create conflict, because that's what makes an interesting article. When we've got conflict and we've got the highest tension between different audiences, that leads to drama, of course. These tensions will help inform an article, so please supply me with 5 ideas of articles that play on the tension between these audiences to create a unique perspective on the subject. So we're asking it, using the tension that's inherent in these audiences, what are ideas for articles? So I will put in something relatively innocuous here that creates a lot of debate, is speed limits. Speed limits in built-up areas. Okay, so speed limits in areas where lots of people live. Now, you will see that very quickly, here we go, it's starting to create its output. And it's building a table right now where it's listing the 12 different audiences. I could ask it to do more audiences than that, but I find that 12 is probably a pretty good number to get us started. Here it's keeping going. Then it's going to write a summary of what it believes, here we go, the tensions and conflicts. And then it will give us headlines for articles and describe what could be in those articles. There we go. Fantastic. So let's have a look at what it's created for us. So here we go, the table of audiences, perspectives, and motivations on speed limits in built-up areas. Right, local residents. Great, of course. Local businesses. Commuters, so the people who want to drive faster. Parents and school associations. Environmentalists, and there it keeps going down. Urban planners, economists, law enforcement. Right. Tensions and conflicts, because this is the bit that could help us write a really interesting article on this topic. It says here, different audiences have varied and sometimes conflicting interests when it comes to speed limits in built-up areas. Local residents and parents prioritise the safety of their families and children, often desiring stricter speed limits. This, however, can be in conflict with commuters who wish for higher speed limits to reduce their travel time. Businesses might have split views while reduced speeds could blah, blah, blah. Right, so we've kind of got this tension between commuters who are driving and parents. So article ideas. The speed limit debate, balancing commute times with local safety. Okay, cars of tomorrow. Can advanced tech reconcile speed and safety? That is interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that. Could there be technological solutions to this? That's really interesting. Urban planning in the fast lane. How city design influences speed limit decisions. Economic speed, analysing the financial impacts of changing city speed limits. Green versus speed, the environmental case reducing speeds in urban areas. So let's see if we can do a follow-up to this and just ask it for a little bit more information. Why don't we say that, can you please, I always say please, it's good to be polite to the AI, even although it's not sentient, and being rude to it won't affect the output that much. It affects the way that we embrace the output. If we are going to be rude and dismissive to the AI, we're not going to respect the output as much. If we are respectful, we get more value out of what it gives us. So it's really for our sake that we are saying, please, can you please give me a list of the main points that parents and commuters have when it comes to this argument. Explain where the biggest tensions are and give me some suggestions for questions to ask them in an interview. To ask each audience in an interview. All right. So we're asking for a few more things there. And you might be able to see I ask for quite a lot in the prompts. I'm not just asking for one thing, give me this. I'm saying, like, produce a document that helps give me a sort of rounded view of what I'm looking for. And the way that I do that is I work out what's the output that I could really do with to be able to do my job that would help me here. And I list that output. In the prompt, I say, give me this, this, and this, because I know that that would help me with the next part of my job. Right, so here we go. It's saying here, it's giving us another nice big long response. The main points, child safety, noise pollution, air quality, community well-being, infrastructure needs. Okay, so these are the main points for parents. Here's some interview questions for parents. Have you or someone you know experienced a traffic-related incident involving a child in this area? Do you feel that the current speed limits contribute to a sense of community? Why or why not? These are interesting questions. I like these. Commuters on speed limits in built-up areas, right? This is the main points for people who are actually driving. Efficiency, desire for quicker commutes to and from work, flexibility, vehicle wear and tear. Interview questions for them. How do you feel the current speed limits impact your daily commute time? Do you feel that your time on the road, given the current speed limits, affects your work or personal life? And then more here about the tensions between parents and commuters. Great. So hopefully you can see that when we write a good prompt, it really helps us get stuff that could help us create an article. But let's actually look now that once we've written something, I want to show you another part of the process. So once we've written something, how do we get AI to help us improve what we have written? So let me find a prompt here that I will paste in, and I will show you how it works. Right, so I'm going to paste in some text in a second here from an article that I've just randomly found on the internet. And this is the prompt that I'm asking here. You are an expert logistician capable of analysing arguments to find flaws, inconsistencies, and fallacies. I want you to analyse curly brackets text and supply me with a list of improvements. I want you to look for logical problems, inconsistencies, fallacies, bad deductions, and other errors. Give me a list of the problems in tabular form, so in a table, including suggestions to improve the text. So I shall find some text here to paste in. And this text is about Netflix. And it's about Netflix putting its prices up. So it's quite a long article. I copy the article in. And I paste it here, below the text. So you might be able to see here as I scroll, it's quite a long article that's in here. And let's see with this amount of information, how long it takes ChatGPT to go through the information and to give us feedback on it. Takes it no time at all, right away. And it's finding stuff. Right, so issue number 1, repetition. The article mentions Netflix price hike in several places. So it's saying that, okay, maybe a little bit less than that. Inconsistency. The article first states £7 billion as revenue, then $8.54 billion. Ensure consistent representation of financial figures for clarity. That amount is probably about right on conversion rates, but yeah, let's stick to one. Let's stick to one currency here. Redundancy. The subscriber growth is mentioned multiple times in various ways. So look, it's given us 11 different things to address here. Clarity, lack of context, assumed knowledge, overuse of the company name, repetition. Then it gives a summary. The text covers the financial and strategic developments of Netflix, but suffers from repetition, inconsistencies, and some ambiguities. Now, at this point, what we could say is we could type in here and say, can you amend the article based on the feedback you have given me? And it will. But I think it's better for the human who has written it to take this kind of advice and go, yeah, I'm going to, that's a good point. That point, not so much. I'm going to ignore that. And to use their understanding of how they write an article and the tone of voice they have to amend the article themselves using this kind of feedback. So there we go. That is what I wanted to show you, is give you a bit of an understanding that this is an opportunity rather than a threat. And maybe this is something that you will find useful yourselves. Now, I want to leave you with a little treat here. I want to give you a link that you can get free prompts if you are interested in getting going with AI and starting playing with ChatGPT yourself or leveling your skills up. Then I send a free prompt out every single Tuesday, and you can find it right here with this QR code. I'll leave this up on screen for a second. Or you can email me here, hello@daveburst.com. Feel free to just email me directly if you've got any questions, any queries. I'm also incredibly easy to find on LinkedIn. So if there's any way that I can help you, I do training, and I've got my LinkedIn learning courses. I'm also consulting for companies, including some publishers, on how to use AI in the best possible way. So I'm here for you if you need me, but I hope that the fact that I wasn't here hasn't been too bad for you. I hope that this video version of me has been okay, and I will see you hopefully at some point online or maybe in person in the future. Thanks so much.